clicker thing. Excellent. So, just an opportunity here, because Joe mentioned something about connecting dots. We've got a lot of things going on. He also accused me this morning of giving words of wisdom. I don't know if that's going to happen in this case, but I wanted to at least give you guys an understanding of how things are fitting together. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of things that feel like they're kind of jumping around or disconnected, but there is a purpose and a point. Before I get to some of them, I just kind of want to start with putting some things in perspective, right? I think this was where we're kind of starting from. This is traditional FDA activities, enforcement. People know guidelines, guidances, and regulations, what's going on there. We've got MDSAP, we've got UDI. Now we've got real-world evidence, patient engagement, cybersecurity, case for quality. You'll notice how much of this stuff is really engaged with MDIC. Other things people might have heard about, some that they may not have heard about. This is a lot of activity. It's also something that internally our reviewers, our staff are dealing with, right? There's a lot going on. It's all got a purpose, right? I think one of the things that we've always fundamentally started with in all of our activities and all our engagements, it's patients, right? How do we get, better engagement with the patients? How do we know what they need? How do we know what they want? How do we let them have a voice in terms of what's happening, what decisions we're making from industry, FDA, or other perspective? How do we get better information on the clinical outcomes, right? What's happening there? Data. How do we improve that whole information set across that whole chain? Well, all of that feeds into, I think, what things we've talked about from the agency standpoint, right? The benefit risk evaluation. How do we start focusing more on benefit? How do we start making that available publicly? This is our current toolbox. We've got enforcement and MDSAP. Here's the things that we got for usually enabling that change. We've got our ability to write guidances or change regulations. A lot of these activities, a lot of the engagements we've had with MDIC, a lot of the work we've done together collaboratively, it's all about starting to change that enhancement. CDRH is restructured to be a more TPLC organization. Look at things from a full product lifecycle standpoint. We got UDI, we got case for quality. Rethinking how we collaborate. You're seeing it not just here with case for quality, you're seeing it with cybersecurity, you're seeing it with engagements we've had with patients. It's all something that the agency is really trying to shift their dynamic on. New one, how do we improve or enhance adoption of automation, new technologies? It's part of what's in our budget authority this year to move on. What's that looking to drive? More things in our toolbox. I will tell you now, this was for the sake of the slides, so that VIP thing with the nice bling, that is not copyrighted. It's not what is our trademark for VIP program. I will let Stephanie and a much smarter group of people come up with the right branding for that, but it made a good picture. We got pre-cert, cybersecurity work, digital evidence, right? MDIC really led a lot of effort with FDA on how do we leverage simulation? How do we start bringing that data in to the course of information that helps inform the product and everything else that happens? All of this, all geared with the principle, how do we make it always burdensome? So everything starts to be a layer and level for enabling or driving things, all with that patient in the center. That's really the focus point. So, pieces of case for quality, how does it all fit? This is my perspective, my view, so don't hold me to it. We need a different model of engagement. That's where VIP comes into play. We really need to be focused past the compliance bar. We need to be focused on how do we improve quality? How do we keep driving that continuous improvement edge? We need information for that. We need that performance metric. We need that data coming in from the patients. We need better ways to get more information. We need better ways to understand what's happening with the product in the field. You got NEST, you got digital simulation, you've got patient engagement, all the opportunities to feed into there. From a VIP standpoint, we recognize that there were some systemic problems. You've got the Make Kappa Cool activities that are happening right now to try to fix a hurdle that we encountered as we say, hey, continuously improve. It's a little hard when it's really, really slow to improve, all right? We need a program kicked off on the side to help fix that. That's a piece of moving the needle continuously as we keep going. We'll keep encountering these. It's going to be a bouncing around set of activities. Sustainment, someone talked about that beforehand. How do we engage leadership? We know it's a big driver. We know it's important to continuing that improvement journey. The education of the quality professionals, getting more people engaged in that, getting a better set of background around that, all builds into that sustainment of that culture. So it's not just what are we doing within Case for Quality to make it stick or creating the VIP program. Big data. We learned that, great, I would love the connection to be big data feeds into VIP. That'd be directly awesome. Challenges in this industry with that. So that's where the Safe Space Initiative came into play. How do we enable that to feed into a place where it's a trusted entity, a trusted source where people can actually share with the intent of it being a driver for improving quality, for improving that patient experience? How does that feed into the overall program? So these initiatives start to tie together. And then you saw the last one, which is new. It's there because one of the other hurdles that we found was a lot of that capability, all of that thing that would enable some of those things to happen isn't out there. It's just not being adopted based on interpretation of practices, interpretation of what the agency might do, maybe just exposure to it. How are we driving that increase in automation and technology? It's one of the focus points that we've also got moving forward over the course of next year. How do we enable and ease the burden of activity for manufacturers to invest, to drive in this direction? So that's new. I know you haven't seen that one back before, but it was part of that authorization. So it is something that we are going to be engaging and trying to help drive. So with that, I want to leave you guys overall, I cannot tell you how much all the work that you guys individually are doing, the teams that you're driving, the volunteer efforts, the difference they make in driving each and every one of those activities. It may seem random, it may seem a little bit ad hoc, it may seem like the center's got 50 million things that don't necessarily feel like they're connected and make sense, but there is a purpose. It's just each one is tackling a different pain point that we encounter as we're moving along on the journey. So once again, thank you guys. Thank you for attending. Thank you for participating. Thank you for transparency, the engagement, Stephanie for putting all this together and keeping us on track. Hopefully, we will continue this. This will become something that becomes a full operational program. It's not going anywhere. And we continue this collaborative engagement because it makes a difference. We've also seen and learned, I think, somebody might have asked this morning if we've learned from other industry organizations. We have. We've actually been engaging with FAA and see how things are working there. So we're learning. It works. The model's been proven. Let's see how we bring that to this space and make a difference for those patients. Any questions before we go? Because I know it's late. It's happy hour time for a lot of people.
Cisco, I have one question. When we talk about technology improvements, especially in manufacturing, one of the pushbacks, so when we have a discussion, let's say with the inspector side, I don't care, add 7,000 more people to your line and blah, blah, blah. For a product that costs 50 cents to make, let's say, sells for $1. That'll push it up 3 times the cost. Who manages the dialogue between the inspection side, who wants all these technology advancements, and the reimbursement side, who somebody's got to give?
Right.
And that's the pushback I get a lot of times when I start barking about we need new technology here and here and here. Who's going to pay for it?
That's an interesting question because I think from the standpoint of a lot of what we've seen, there is an initial investment in that technology, but it does drive down the cost, does pay for itself, and oftentimes very quickly. So I'd be curious to see, and I'd love to engage on how we can build a better business case around that.
Yeah. Because
I think that's relevant and helps drive some of the discussion moving further, maybe one of the initial activities that needs to occur.
Happy hour.
All right, well, we'll see you all hopefully in September and November. Thank you all for coming.